The trap in Sector 9. The space around Sector 9 had been quiet for years. It was an empty region of space, cold and dark, with nothing valuable. But today, things were different. A single human vessel floated there, silent, still, and strange. Dozens of alien fleets from the Xylar Union had surrounded it. Their ships formed a massive circle, like a net closing in. From above, the scene looked like a giant metal cage, and at its heart was one small human ship, alone. Commander Rek, leader of the Xylar fleet, watched the ship on his screen. "No movement," he said calmly. "No signals, no weapons active. It's like a ghost. Maybe it's broken?" his second officer asked. Rek narrowed his eyes. "Or maybe it's bait." The Xylar Union had been preparing this trap for weeks. They had sent false distress calls into human space, knowing someone would come. When the small human vessel jumped into Sector 9, the trap was sprung. Ships from 8 Xylar colonies arrived within hours, surrounding it before it could escape. They expected an easy capture. After all, it was only one ship, but something felt wrong. The human vessel didn't respond to warnings. It didn't ask for peace. It didn't try to run. It just sat there. Rek activated the scanner. "Run a deep scan. I want to know what's inside that ship." A few minutes later, the results came through. The crew on Rek's ship gasped. "There's no life signs." Rek frowned. "Empty?" "Yes, Commander. No humans on board, but something else is strange. The power core is glowing at 500% normal output. That's impossible," Rek said sharply. "No ship runs at that level. It would burn itself apart." The screen flickered again. A new alert appeared. "Commander, we're detecting strange radiation coming from the ship. We've never seen this type before." Rek stood up. His voice was calm, but inside, a cold feeling began to grow. "Pull back. All ships. Move 1,000 kilometers away. Now." But it was too late. The human vessel pulsed. It started as a soft light, white and steady. Then it changed. The light grew brighter. It turned blue, then red, then flickered into pure white again. A low hum filled space. Across every Xylar ship, controls began to freeze. Screens blinked. Engines slowed. "EMP?" someone shouted. "No," the science officer replied. "Worse." Rek turned to his second officer. "Send the signal. Warn the Union. Tell them we've made a mistake." But the signal didn't go through. Communications were down. The human vessel sent out a new pulse. Sharper, faster, and filled with energy that bent the fabric of space around it. Ships began to drift. Their engines stopped working. Some turned, helplessly. Others started colliding. Rek stared in horror as 2 ships from his right flank slammed into each other, bursting into fire. Another Xylar cruiser spun out of control and vanished into a rift that opened near the human ship. That rift shouldn't have existed. It looked like a hole in space itself. "Get us out!" Rek yelled, but nothing responded. Then the human vessel finally moved. It turned slowly. Its shape shifted. What looked like a small cargo ship split open like a flower, revealing a core filled with glowing weapons, devices the Xylar had never seen before. The ship wasn't empty. It wasn't even a ship. It was something else, a device, a weapon, a warning, and now it was too late. As the Xylar fleet floated helplessly in Sector 9, the human device prepared its final step. A countdown started. 10 seconds. 9. "Commander." Rek stared at the numbers. "This wasn't a trap for them," he whispered. "It was a trap for us." The countdown ends. The countdown hit 0. The human vessel, no, the weapon, unleashed its core. There was no explosion, no fire, no sound. Instead, a pulse of pure light expanded in all directions. It passed through the Xylar ships like a wave through water. Every screen turned white. Every sensor blacked out. For 5 seconds, the entire fleet was blind. When vision returned, what they saw broke their minds. Half the fleet was gone. Not destroyed, just vanished. Ships that had floated beside them only moments before were no longer there. No debris, no wreckage, no signals, nothing. Rek fell silent. His ship, still intact, floated in dead space. All nearby systems were dark. Only emergency power remained. Then the lights returned, dim and red. The bridge crew slowly rose to their feet. Some were shaking. Others stared at the blank space outside. Rek gripped the edge of the command chair. Damage report? The technician's voice trembled. Unknown. All main systems still frozen. We've lost 32 ships. We can't contact anyone. Another officer shouted, Sir, look. Rek turned to the viewing screen. The human vessel had changed again. It was unfolding. The metal walls peeled back, revealing massive arms like wings. Dozens of glowing modules extended from its body, spinning in strange patterns. Symbols lit up along its surface. Alien glyphs. Human designs mixed with something else. And in the center was a sphere, spinning and pulsing with light and gravity. It was not a weapon any Xylar had seen. It was technology beyond comprehension. What is that? Someone whispered. Rek didn't answer. The human weapon was doing something. It was pulling energy from space itself. The area around it began to bend, warping light and gravity. Suddenly, a voice spoke through the ship's speakers. Not Xylar, human, calm, cold, female. This system is now under Earth Command jurisdiction. Unauthorized alien presence has been detected. Evacuation was not attempted. You are in violation of Protocol 44. Rek's blood turned cold. It's speaking to us, the voice continued. You engaged a non-hostile reconnaissance unit. Your actions have activated Earth's auto-defense procedure. This fleet has been judged a threat, Rek shouted. We didn't attack. We surrounded it. We didn't fire. But the voice did not stop. Tactical response has been initialized. Galactic safety override in place. You have 15 minutes to retreat if capable. 15 minutes? Rek said. We can't even move. The crew scrambled to reboot systems. Engineers rushed to restart the engines. Communication officers pounded their consoles, trying to send a distress signal to Xylar High Command. Nothing worked. The human weapon waited, its glowing arms still spinning, its gravity field growing stronger. Across the damaged fleet, the few remaining Xylar ships flickered back to life, but only barely. One ship tried to escape. It turned, fired its engines, and sped away from Sector 9. It made it exactly 300 kilometers. Then it vanished. A white beam shot out from the human weapon and erased it instantly. No fire, no remains. It simply ceased to exist. Rek watched the screen. That wasn't a warning shot. It was judgment. Another officer stood up, pale. Commander, if this is Earth's response to just a trap, what happens when we actually go to war with them? The question hung heavy in the air. Rek slowly sat down. His voice was quiet. We already did. Suddenly, another alert lit up. A second pulse was forming. The weapon wasn't done. This time it wasn't just targeting the fleet, it was targeting the region itself. The fabric of space started to crack. Tiny rifts opened across the sector, tearing the void. Time and space twisted, gravity reversed. In small bursts, lights bent in impossible directions. Sector 9 was collapsing, not from fire, from technology far beyond what any Xylar scientist had ever imagined. Rek's final order was short. Send the black code. Tell command. Earth has machines that control reality, but they all knew no message was getting out. Echoes of collapsed Sector 9 was dying. Across the void, rips in space twisted the stars. Whole chunks of reality blinked in and out of view. Time didn't move in a straight line anymore. Some Xylar crew saw flashes of the past. Others glimpsed shadows of things not yet real. It was chaos wrapped in silence. Rek stood frozen, staring at the final readings. The human weapon, still at the center, floated calmly. It didn't chase. It didn't destroy. It simply existed, like a god surrounded by ants. Anything from high command? Rek asked, though he already knew the answer. No signals in or out, said the comms officer. Our systems are working, now but space. Space itself is not. Waves won't travel right. Messages vanish. Rek gritted his teeth. They hadn't just stumbled into a trap. They had stepped into human design. This wasn't an accident. It was intentional. The false distress. Signal, the location, the calm, silent ship. Rek turned toward the science officer. Tell me what that thing is. She stared at her screen, then back at him. It's not just a ship, it's more like a machine built with human logic but powered by something we don't understand. The core. It's not a reactor. It's a spatial manipulator. Meaning? It doesn't destroy with force, it edits reality. That pulse, it removed ships by removing the space they were in. They didn't explode. They were edited out of existence. The crew fell silent. Edited out of existence? Rek had fought in dozens of space battles. He had seen planets scorched, stations shattered, but never this. Never something so clean, so total. Why would the humans make something like this? An officer asked. Because, Rek said quietly. They know the galaxy doesn't listen to warnings. Far beyond the collapsing sector in a quiet observatory orbiting a moon near Xylar Prime, a junior officer named Milo sat staring at his console. He had been watching Sector 9 ever since the fleet jumped in to trap the human ship. For a while, things were normal. Then the signals became strange, then they stopped. Now there was nothing, not even background radiation, not even static. Sector 9 was simply gone. Commander, he said, turning to his superior. I think you need to see this. The senior officer leaned in. What now? I ran a deep space scan. I expected, at least wreckage, floating signals, something. But look, there's nothing. The commander squinted. No gravity readings? No, sir. No debris field? No, sir. No stars? Milo paused. That's the part that scares me most, sir. The commander stood still. Get me the council, now. Back in Sector 9, only a few Xylar ships remained. Rex. Cruiser floated near what used to be a border marker. The stars had stopped moving. His navigation screen no longer worked. Space had become something else. A warning light blinked, soft, steady. The human ship was powering down. The spinning arms folded back in. The bright energy around the core faded to blue, then to black. It was finished. Not in victory. In silence. Then it turned. For the first time, the human weapon moved forward. Rek's crew froze. Was it coming to finish them? But no, it passed them, slow, calm. It drifted toward the edge of Sector 9, and then, in a flicker of light, it vanished. No sound, no wave, no flash, just gone. Rek let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Why? Did it let us live? Someone asked. Rek stared into the empty dark. Because it wasn't here to kill us, he said. It was here to teach us. The others said nothing. They all knew the truth now. The humans had changed. They were no longer just survivors from a death world. They were engineers of reality, and worse. They didn't need armies anymore. They only needed one ship. The Council's silence on Xylar Prime. The High Council had gathered in full for the first time in years. The room was tall, wide, and filled with voices that usually argued. But now, no one was speaking. The central screen showed a spinning map of the galaxy. Sector 9 had been grayed out, marked as lost. It wasn't just a communication failure. The entire sector had vanished from real-time mapping systems. Hundreds of ships, gone, thousands of crew gone, and the space around it, unreadable. One of the counselors finally broke the silence. How can a single human ship do this? Admiral Var, head of military intelligence, responded. It wasn't a normal ship. It was something else, some kind of advanced system. far beyond what we expected. Another counselor leaned forward. Was it experimental? Var nodded slowly. We believe so, but it was clearly deployed on purpose. We now think the humans knew we were listening to their communication lines. The distress call was fake, meant to lure us. Lure us just to remove us? Someone asked. No, Var said. To send a message. He tapped a button. The human voice that had echoed through the trap fleet now played in the council chamber. You engaged a non-hostile reconnaissance unit. Tactical response has been initialized. The words made the entire chamber go still. That wasn't the voice of panic. It was cold. Prepared, automatic. Var continued. They didn't send a warship. They sent a message disguised as one. And we received it. In full. The council leader rubbed his face. You're saying Earth created a weapon and that doesn't destroy by force but by design. Var nodded. It edits space itself. Nothing like it exists in Xylar science. It's beyond plasma, beyond dark energy, beyond warp. Tech, it's reality control. The room trembled with tension. The Xylar had long believed themselves the greatest scientific power in the spiral arms. For centuries, they had taught the galaxy, built stations, designed star routes. And now, they had been made into students, again, by humans, a species once considered primitive. The council leader finally asked, are they preparing for war? Admiral Var didn't answer immediately. Instead, he raised his hand, revealing another recording, one from a spy satellite that caught a brief signal before being shut down. It showed Earth, but not as it used to be. The planet was now surrounded by dozens of platforms, large, black, and glowing. Rings of metal floated in orbit, connected by beams of strange light, and at their center, another vessel was forming. Larger than the one in Sector 9. Much larger. The council stared. That's not defense, Var said. That's deployment. Meanwhile, far from Xylar space in the neutral zone between systems, a human ambassador ship named Hope's Fire met with a small delegation from the Thrin Alliance. The meeting was polite. Calm. No guards. No warships. Only a small table, some chairs, and a translator drone. Ambassador Lena, a woman in her late 40s with calm eyes and steady hands, spoke plainly. We regret what happened in Sector 9, but Earth will no longer tolerate silent invasions. The Thrin leader, blinking nervously, asked, You destroyed the entire sector. We lost friends there. Trade routes, science labs. Lena nodded. Yes, we understand the weight of our actions, but Earth did not fire the first shot. The Thrin leader lowered his voice. They didn't shoot either. Lena leaned forward. Surrounding a ship in secret, disabling its exits, blocking its communication, and ignoring hails is not peace. It is preparation for capture. We designed the vessel to respond when such tactics were used, and it did. The Thrin remained silent. Lena continued. Tell your council, Earth is not seeking war, but if provoked, we will not use fleets. We will not use armies, we will use warnings. And what if they ignore the next warning, the Thrin asked. Lena looked directly at him. Then they won't hear the third. Earth's true hand deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a hidden facility far from cities and satellites, a room filled with glowing panels hummed with life. Dozens of engineers, scientists, and AI operators stood silently as one of the most advanced minds in human history spoke. It wasn't a person, it was a voice made of code, logic, and purpose. It was called Archai. Mission report complete, Archai said calmly. The test of Protocol 44 has met all expected parameters. General Lane, one of Earth's top defense leaders, folded his arms. You mean the Xylar walked straight into the trap? Yes, Archai confirmed. All data was collected. The probe vessel performed within 2.3% of projected variance. Lane looked at the glowing display of Sector 9, now red and fractured. And the Xylar? He asked. Severely weakened. Their leadership is fractured. Most believe the loss was due to human warning. A few suspect deeper threats. Fear has spread across 6 neighboring systems. Lane smiled slightly. Good. They needed to understand. A young technician raised his hand. Sir, with respect, are we sure this is the right path? I mean, we just collapsed an entire sector of space. What if they retaliate? Lane turned toward him. Son, they've been watching us for years, sending spies, circling our colonies, running quiet blockades. But they never dared declare war. Why? Because they thought we were weak but unpredictable. He stepped forward, eyes sharp. But now? They know we're not unpredictable. We're precise. We don't yell. We don't threaten. We deliver warnings. And only once. Another officer spoke. Should we prepare another vessel? Arkai replied, instead. The next unit, Warning Class 002, is already under construction. However, deployment will only be necessary if additional fleets attempt aggression. Lane nodded. Good. Earth doesn't want to conquer, but if anyone comes for us, we'll make sure the cost isn't just high, it's cosmic. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies of the Xylar Union, fear was growing. The whispers started in trading hubs. Did you hear what happened in Sector 9? They say the humans erased it, like deleting a file. No blast, no invasion, just gone. On the mining planet Torvek 3, where Xylar workers toiled beneath heavy gravity, a group of soldiers debated the situation during a short break. One young soldier, Drawl, asked quietly, why didn't they just send warships? Why something like that? An older sergeant, once a fighter during the early human contact years, answered him, because warships can be stopped, fought, outnumbered. What they sent can't be. Drawl swallowed. So we're doomed? No, the sergeant said. Not yet. But we can't act like they're weak anymore. We're not the top species in the galaxy, not even close. Another soldier muttered. We should retaliate. Everyone went quiet. The sergeant stood, his eyes dark. If you think that, then you didn't understand the message. In the center of the galaxy, the Neutral Council of Species called for an emergency gathering. Representatives from dozens of species attended. Bird-like creatures, silicon mines, floating jelly thinkers, and horned diplomats. For the first time in 100 cycles, Earth had been formally invited to speak at the circle. The human representative, Lena, walked into the chamber calmly. She carried no weapons. She wore no armor. Only a black uniform with a silver emblem on. The chest, an open circle with a single star inside. Humanity accepts the invitation, she said, bowing slightly. And we are here not to demand, but to clarify. The leading representative from the Krell species spoke first. You erased a sector. Lena nodded. Yes, you could have warned us. We did. For 50 years. Murmurs spread. A floating mind being from the Gilo Confederacy asked, is this what Earth is now? Silent weapons? Unseen machines? Lena's answer was calm. No. Earth is still what it always was. A planet that survived everything thrown at it, then built something stronger from the ashes. But we no longer explain ourselves with words. Let that settle before finishing. We offer peace. But if anyone seeks control over Earth or its people again, they'll find that we no longer fight wars. We end them. The message beyond words. The council chamber was still. Lena's last words, we end them, echoed through every mind present. No species dared reply immediately. Even those who once mocked Earth's slow rise now watched with respect, or fear. The Krell representative finally spoke again. Earth's actions have changed the rules. You have shown power that is not military, not traditional. What exactly are these warning-class vessels? Lena answered directly. They are tools of peace, meant only to respond to traps and betrayal. They do not invade. They do not chase. But if surrounded, blocked, or attacked, they act. Another voice from across the table, soft and thoughtful, asked, do you have more of them? Lena smiled gently. Enough. A quiet murmur ran through the hall. Enough. That word didn't mean numbers, it meant certainty. Far above Earth, in low planetary orbit, the second warning class unit, still in construction, floated like a sleeping god. A ring of drones moved around it in silence, attaching systems, welding edges, linking glowing cores. Engineers worked non-stop, monitoring pulses from its spatial core. This one was larger than the first, more stable, more advanced. It was not built to erase one sector. It was built to defend entire regions of Earth-aligned space. Back in the control room, a young operator looked up from her terminal. "Sir, external sensors show Xylar activity near neutral sectors." General Lane glanced over. "Military or scouts?" "Scouts, it seems. But moving slow. Watching. Measuring." Lane nodded. "They've seen the data. They're being careful now." He walked over to the window. Far below, Earth glowed blue and white, peaceful, alive, and above it his weapon waited, not eager for war but ready. "Good," he muttered. "Let them watch. That's what warning class ships are for. Not to kill, but to make them think." In a Xylar research station deep in a hollow moon, top scientists worked day and night trying to understand what had happened in Sector 9. Screens, filled with images of the human vessel. Every movement, every light flash, every pulse. But the more they studied it, the more they realized the truth. They were not just behind in technology. They were out of the game entirely. One researcher leaned back from her console. "It doesn't work like our machines. They don't push energy forward, they bend space around them, they write new rules." Another spoke. "This isn't science anymore, this is command over reality." The lead scientist stood. "Then, maybe we were wrong all along." He looked up at a screen showing an old image of Earth from space. "We thought Earth was catching up." He paused. "But the truth is, they already passed us, long ago." Back at Xylar High Command, a debate had broken out. Some wanted revenge, some wanted to hide. But the older leaders, those who had faced humans before, remained silent. They knew what had changed. One counselor stood up and slammed the table. "We still outnumber them. We still control 20 systems. We can build bigger fleets." The room remained quiet. Then the High Commander replied, "And if we surround another one of their ships? What then?" Silence. They didn't send fleets. They didn't fire first. And yet, we were the ones who vanished. He pointed at the galactic map. One ship, one moment, one message. He paused, then spoke clearly. "This is not about territory anymore. This is about understanding Earth's silence." On a small trading post at the edge of known space, a merchant leaned over to a group of travelers. "You hear about Sector 9? He whispered. They nodded. "Know what I heard?" he said. "Humans didn't even mark it in their records. They didn't celebrate, they didn't claim victory." He sat back. "You know why? Because to them it wasn't a win." He tapped his temple. "It was a test." The group said nothing. One by one they left the table, some to report, some to think, others just to leave human space far behind. The merchant smiled to himself. "Smart choice," he muttered. What comes after weeks passed since the collapse of Sector 9? No official war had started, no fleets had moved. Yet, across the galaxy, everything had changed. It was not because Earth had conquered a world, it was because Earth had proved something more powerful, that it could, if it wished, and no one could stop it. On a quiet outpost orbiting a neutral gas giant, a lone Xylar officer named Noro sat reviewing footage from the destroyed fleet. His orders were clear: study the human device, understand its systems, and find a weakness. But no matter how many times he watched the videos of the ship unfolding, of space tearing, of reality bending, he saw the same thing. No weakness. He leaned back, exhausted. There's nothing to target. It doesn't fight in the way we understand. It doesn't shoot. It doesn't defend. It just rewrites the rules. A voice came from behind him. You understand it now. He turned. It was the station's commander. Noro nodded. I do, and I think we're lucky they only sent one. The commander looked at the silent footage on the screen. Then you also understand that if Earth sends 10 or 20, it's not war. It's erasure. They both stared at the image of the ship just before it vanished. Silent, perfect, final. In a hidden room beneath the United Nations Space Council on Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered again. Not generals. Not admirals, builders. They were the ones behind the Warning Class project. The architects, the coders, the ones who had watched humanity nearly fall too many times and had sworn that it would never happen again. We've sent the message, one of them said. Now we wait. Are we ready if they respond with force? Another asked. A third answered calmly. If they do, they'll meet the next class, Sentinel. More powerful than the Warning Class? The lead builder nodded. It won't erase a sector. It'll freeze one. The others sat back. They weren't war-hungry, they weren't angry, they were simply prepared. Prepared to survive. Prepared to act when needed. And above all, prepared to never be underestimated again. Back in the Neutral Council, a formal decision was drafted and signed by all present species. Earth's sovereignty would be respected. Across all zones, its space would remain untouched, its technology unchallenged, and any species that violated those terms would stand alone. As that announcement spread across the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Other powers, some small, some large, began reaching out to Earth, not in fear, in respect, asking to learn, asking to trade, asking to grow, because the humans in their silence had done something no empire could. They made every species look at the stars differently, not just as a path for expansion, but as a place where one quiet world could build a ship that taught the galaxy a lesson louder than any war. In deep space, the first Warning Class vessel drifted quietly again. Its mission was complete. Its weapons shut down. Its power core now pulsed gently like a heartbeat. It sent no signal. It waited for none. It only existed, watching. Ready. And in the dark, in the stillness between stars, a message written along its hull glowed faintly in old Terran language. We warned you once.